Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. My name is Diana, and I am the head of research and sustainability at Global Blockchain Business Council. It is a pleasure to welcome you today to GBBC's Virtual Members Forum on overcoming DeFi scalability issues with cross-chain apps. We are a bi-weekly webinar series showcasing the innovative work of our members around the world. And today, we're joined by Benedetto Biondi, the CEO and co-founder of Folks Finance. GBBC member Folks Finance is a community-driven, decentralized platform providing permissionless DeFi tools across multiple networks. This facilitates activities like lending, borrowing, staking, and trading. Briefly, before we begin, I also want to introduce Benedetto. Benedetto, as co-founder and CEO of Folks Financing, the leading DeFi cross-chain protocol offering innovative lending, borrowing, trading, and managing digital assets solutions all in one place. Benedetto has accrued 3 years of experience as a blockchain project manager, a mentor in the Algorand Miami and Europe accelerators, Moonbeam accelerators, Fin Plus Tech accelerator, and he's been a DeFi advisor at Climate Coin, and also a DeFi lecturer at the course of Economics and Law for Digital Assets for the University of Florence. Benedetto today will provide a comprehensive overview and history of DeFi, exploring the evolution and current state in comparison with CeFi, centralized finance, while highlighting the advantages of the cross-chain and multi-chain approach, the potential for institutional mass adoption of DeFi through real-world assets, and more. Benedetto will emphasize how these innovations can drive broader acceptance and integration of decentralized financial systems. To the audience, we welcome your questions at any point during today's presentation, and please submit them in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we will take them at the end. Thank you, Benedetto, for joining us, and I will hand things over to you to begin.
Thank you so much, Diana, for the beautiful introduction. I never had such a broad resume of my past, but it's a pleasure to be here, and very nice to meet everyone. And I'm very eager to discuss with the audience. Please, at any time, feel free to ask questions. I will try to be as easy in language as possible. Sometimes I might be a little bit too DeFi oriented, but if there is something that you may want to clarify, please feel free to ask at any time. So I hope my screen is sharing well. Okay, it's working. So I don't need to mention again who I am. Maybe one thing that we missed that is recently I joined the Techstar Web3 Accelerator as a mentor. Generally, I'm very, very passionate about startups. It was something that for me was kind of arrived without expecting it. My background, this university background, was I was a mechanical engineer. I didn't like very much to be a project person, always at the laptop designing. I always would look at my superiors, and I wanted to be there. I felt that I wanted to be a leader in the company. So that's why I decided to switch, and I took a master degree in management in innovation engineering. And that's where I met blockchain technology, and later I started to work for the largest Web3 software house in Italy as a project manager. And then Folks Finance started from there, and here I am today. But we will get to understand what we are doing. There is a QR code if you want to connect with me. Probably there is also at the last slide, but feel free to connect already now for later. So let's start with a quick overview of where DeFi was born and why and where we are today. So in 2020, there was the so-called DeFi Summer. Basically, with the Ethereum introducing the smart contract, it was kind of clear and easy to think that being the blockchain a way of transferring value now that we have way to program on it. So what we do, obviously, we do softwares for using those values, right? So we can think of DeFi as a mirror of the traditional financial system. So obviously, you don't start with the very advanced, I don't know, for example, perpetual average trading, right? So you start with the basics. So we needed to swap assets, to exchange. So that's how it started with the first decentralized exchanges. Second, lending protocols. That's also one of the first primitives of DeFi. And later on, more and more tools started to be developed. One very beautiful thing of DeFi is that not only new tools arise out of scratch, but many tools started to be built on top of existing tools. We'll do an example of that later on. But DeFi very quickly in its beginning, we can see in between 2021 and 2022, showed a huge potential. Like we had almost $180 billion locked into those protocols. And I remember those days, it felt like DeFi was gonna conquer the world, so quickly growing. Then something happened and everything went down again. But it's a bit of natural happening when you have such a huge growth, not controlled, and very much a bit of far west of finance. Things like that can happen. So I think it's normal that we see this up and down. But coming back to the story and reasoning, so we said that we started by mirroring what is the basic and the pillars of traditional finance. So exchanging assets, the loans or lending protocols. We had DAO as way of also fundraising. So that would be the equivalent of Web 2 fundraising, also in Web 3, but decentralized. Stablecoins would came in, allowing a lot of more dynamic exchange in DeFi, and so on. So we had more and more categories growing through time. Those also were also changing, not only growing over time. And today we can see that the narrative is mainly focused on liquid staking, and there is a lot of total value locked in those protocols. Lending is probably the second, if we sum up, and then DEXs. Indeed, those may be the three largest in terms of total value locked. There is a very big variety of tools in DeFi that goes from Launchpad, insurance, real world assets, different type of loans. It's very much always getting broader and broader and more also niche in a certain sector. But the very interesting thing is to actually compare centralized finance with DeFi, in my opinion. I always thought, like, why if DeFi has such a much better base as technology. It's permissionless, it's decentralized, it is much more transparent than CeFi. Why is still so far away than centralized finance? And even if we just limit ourselves at the crypto CeFi, so centralized exchange, it's very big, the gap of audience and user base between DeFi and CeFi. If we look at numbers, Binance has over 170 million users worldwide, and Uniswap, which is the largest DeFi protocol in terms of users, has only 5 million. Then we must, as builder, ask ourselves why this is the case and why we are still so far away from, let's say, the competitor. In my opinion, there are a few reasons. I believe that, first of all, exchange are much easier to use. They simply provide all the tools that a user need in one place. In fact, most of the users, they have one favorite exchange and they keep using that exchange for everything that they need to do. Indeed, in DeFi, there is always verticalization over the different operations. So if you want to swap, usually you're going to use a DEX. If you want, obviously, to lend, you're going to use a lending protocol. Staking, so liquid staking, you're going to use Lido. So every time, for each operation, you need to learn a different user experience, user interface. It requires more knowledge. It is more time consuming. So definitely it's not something that could attract the mass adoption. And this is a bit a mistake that I believe sometimes we do as builders, that is like, we think that we need to focus on only one product, which is our core, and therefore we end up by verticalizing a product over one single tool. But that's not what the average user is looking for. Another reason why exchange are probably more used, it is thanks to the custody, because obviously in DeFi today, you need to use non-custodial wallet. In most of the case, you already have exceptions, but it is very scary for the large audience to be able to store their seed phrase and manage their wallet, which is again connected to the nature of the same friction of before. And in addition, last thing is mainly exchange are more efficient. There are various reasons why they are. Obviously, centralized softwares are easier to manage in a certain sense, and also to be performant. But one of the things that I really believe that has limited DeFi in the last years is the concentration of liquidity also vertically into different chains. On an exchange, you are not going to have the need of thinking, oh, on which chain I'm doing the trade, how much liquidity there is in this chain. The exchange aggregates all the liquidity of the different chain, obviously in a centralized way, and allow to perform the best operation by aggregating those liquidity. Well, before, this was a concept very far away to decentralized finance, but thanks to messaging layer today, this is actually changing. So messaging layers are usually, they were called bridge at the very beginning, but indeed there is a message transfer between different networks, allow to interoperate multiple network, multiple chains, and this is being done by transferring token, by transferring data, information. This allows basically a new dynamic that it wasn't available before in DeFi. And I believe that is a very pivotal point towards closing the gap between the exchanges and DeFi. The messaging layers today in the market are many. We listed here some of the most famous, right? But they all mostly serve the same target, which is again sending messages between one chain and another in a secure way. The transfer of token in a safe way, and this is being done basically by being able to connect two smart contracts on different networks. Then every messaging layer is different than others because of their scalability, security, the ecosystem, but also the gas fees, for example. Everyone is in a competition with each other. It's a very innovative technology. But it's very interesting what we can build with such technology, and we will see. One of the things that also I like to point out is how Circle with USDC and CCTP, which is their cross-chain transfer protocol, allows the seamless transfer of USDC across the supported network. And we will see how this, for example, is important for Volksfinance. One of the things that messaging layers allow is the creation, in fact, of cross-chain native token, as I mentioned, CCTP. There are more and more tokens that are being built under such narrative. Every messaging layer has their own standard. Is again here a competition. But for example, using TCP, there is a protocol, it's called SolveBTC, that has developed cross-chain Bitcoin transfers, which is, in my opinion, a very useful protocol because Bitcoin is very much used as value exchange on different networks. So I think that after stable coins, this is also a very good use. And again, every messaging layer provides their own technology. Wormhole entity has been also chosen by BlackRock for their RWA. So it's being seen how those technologies are already shaping the future of DeFi, and I believe that they will. Those cross-chain token will power a lot the next DeFi bull cycle. Also, one of the things that is possible to do with those tokens in terms of governance token, obviously like W of Wormhole, is to have cross-chain governance. So I can participate in the governance of a protocol in different chains where before usually the governance were only possible to be done in the native in a native chain. Another thing is the concentrated liquidity model. So being able to transfer those assets seamlessly between chains allow protocol to aggregate liquidity in one single network rather than fragmenting in many. And we'll see an example of this. That is also what Volksfinance does later. So mainly Volksfinance is a lending protocol, and for us, when we wanted to build the version 3 and we wanted to scale, we were native on Algorand, and we wanted to go also in other network. The choice was, or we build a new protocol, which is again in a single network, not interoperable with the previous one, and it won't be interoperable with any other chain. Or we start to build using messaging layer, and we bring this further, where all the networks that are supported starts to be interoperating with each other in terms of liquidity, obviously. So we really like the idea of cross-chain, and we decided to take it on board, and we did a lot of research and due diligence. So I'm proudly saying that Fox Finance is definitely today the most advanced cross-chain lending protocol in the industry so far. But let's understand why multi-chain lending is inefficient compared to cross-chain lending. First of all, I like to very often make this comparison. So imagine you would have a smartphone, and you would be able to make phone calls only with your carrier provider, not with all the available numbers, just those that use your same company. That is what happened today in DeFi. You are only able to interoperate in the same network, whether indeed there is a lot of more happening in the others. So this is the state of the art. Cross-chain bring it to the next level. The specific thing that you are going to lose by using multi-chain lending protocol is that you are going to have impossibility of having transfer of assets from a chain to another, because if you have a collateral on Ethereum and you want to borrow something against it, you will be forced to do it on Ethereum. And if you want later on to move this loan on another network, you have to do all the process of closing the loan, repaying it, withdraw the collateral, bridge the collateral to another network, and take again the loan. Basically, this creates a lot of friction. In addition, also there is inefficiency in the liquidity model that we will see later why. With the cross-chain lending protocols, this is very different. As a standard is used the so-called hub and spoke model. The hub chain serves as an accountant and also as a way of pooling the cross-chain assets, as we mentioned before. The hub chain is like a coordinator between the other chains. So basically, a user doesn't matter where he's connecting from. He's being able to borrow and deposit liquidity on all the supported network. And at the same time, when doing so, he is not worried about gas fees, network selection, bridging, and this brings a much better user experience. Obviously, this is done because between the hub chain and the spokes chain, there is the interconnection done with the messaging layer that per se allows that. So the user experience became much friendlier, and it's also it allows the user to abstract those things that are already abstracted in the centralized exchange, like the network selection, the gas fees. You don't really see this in the exchange. Indeed, one of also very useful cross-chain tool is the cross-chain swaps. Merging the liquidity of DEXs between chains is a little bit more complex than doing it on a lending. So on the lending protocol, by simply transferring cross-chain assets into one single pool, you are able to do that. But because DEXs, as today, are deploying vertically on a network, and the pools are made by pairs, it's it's impossible to do the same model as we have seen in the cross-chain lending. So cross-chain swaps are powered by simply routing swaps between many vertical chains. So the way it works is basically if I have two pools of the same assets, let's say as in this scenario of Ethereum and USDC on two chains, instead than swapping the total amount into one single network, it may be spread into two by using the bridging part. Even to another level, instead than routing only in the same two pools, it can route the assets between multiple pools, which includes also other tokens. So here, the history of evolution is different than the lending also because we can consider we started with DEXs that were only in a single network. Then in the single network, we created the swaps aggregator, so the DEX aggregator. So you aggregate multiple DEXs in the single network. Now what happened is that you aggregate multiple DEX aggregator in different networks, all under a cross-chain way. And obviously this makes the performance of the swaps much more efficient because you are being able to perform this operation in not only the liquidity of one chain, but all of the supported chains. So it's by simply definition more efficient. So this is an example of how the cross-chain model with the concentrated liquidity can be much more efficient. And the example takes liquidity from, this is taken, it's a while ago, it's not up to date, but it takes the liquidity of USDC on Aave on the different markets that are not then the native chain, then which is Ethereum mainnet. And it's pretty simple to understand. You basically have 10 pools, which fragment a total of 158 million liquidity. And as a borrower, if you are interested to take the largest loan, this can be taken only considering the largest chain, which is Arbitrum. So the largest loan can be only calculated based on the largest chain. Indeed, by using cross-chain lending protocol and using cross-chain tokens, like USDC, it is already a cross-chain token, but it cannot be used cross-chain into the actual version of Aave, but it can be used cross-chain in a hub and spoke model lending protocol. So when doing the same math, basically we would be able to calculate the max borrowable amount, not on the biggest chain, but obviously in all the chains, which in this case are aggregated in one single pool, which is in the hub chain. So this shows how the same liquidity in two lending protocol, one multi-chain and one cross-chain, allows a much more efficiency in the cross-chain model. It's actually 180% more efficient. So also in terms of user experience, this is brought really to the next level. The way it works is that when having cross-chain assets as USDC, no matter where you are depositing the assets, these are going to be concentrated in the hub chain, which for Volksfinance, for example, is Avalanche. And no matter where you are borrowing from, the loan is delivered from the hub chain to the spoke chain. And the beauty of that is that the end users, which let's say in this case is a borrower on Solana, is not even aware that he's borrowing the liquidity of an user that was on Arbitrum through Avalanche as the hub chain, that case. And this obviously can be applied to all the networks supported. And another particular thing is that obviously you are able to play around with the supported network. So you may actually connect as a Solana user, lock collateral on Solana, and borrow in another destination chain, which is different from the one that you locked the collateral in. So this creates very much a total new dynamic of managing your assets and loans in a lending protocol, in this case, in DeFi, which is much, much closer to what is the centralized exchange experience rather than the DeFi one. So at Volks Finance, our main experience is the lending, and that's how we started. But we are also the largest DeFi protocol on Algorand today, and we started as a lending protocol, and on Algorand then we started to add, because we already understood that DeFi needed the aggregation of tools. We had the liquid staking, swaps. Then we combined those with the lending through the interoperability that I was talking about, that you can build new tools, new protocols by simply combining existing one. So for example, liquid staking and flash loans and loans, by wrapping a few transactions together, we were able to build the leverage liquid staking. Same was between swaps and lending. We built the leverage trading. And now at Volks Finance, we really want to bring this forward. So that's why we believe that with the cross-chain lending, which we recently launched a month ago, we can now rebuild and redeploy the work and the research that we have done so far in a cross-chain narrative. So we already deployed actually the cross-chain swaps. Soon we will start to deploy the different liquid staking. And the idea for our product is to have this one-stop shop, which provides the most efficient, for as much as DeFi can in terms of technology, the most efficient DeFi tools, all aggregated into one place. So to have an alternative that is much closer to centralized exchange rather than the vertical DeFi apps. Also for us, it's very, very important to think ahead of what's next. That's why we are building our mobile app, which is also connected to custody. So it has the custody and also the self-custody. So it's DeFi, but also for not so, let's say, expert users. And also the mobile card wants to connect our DeFi loans to the debit card in order to become basically intrinsically a crypto credit card. So said that, I would summarize here by saying that the DeFi journey so far has been growing from nothing to mirroring what is the base of centralized finance, of traditional finance. Then we understood what are the limits that we have, and now we are kind of breaking those one brick at a time, and to close the gap, right? And I believe that messaging layers and cross-chain technology will be able to unlock a lot of utilities and remove friction in the landscape as it is today. Those are two QR codes. One is again my connections. Another one is the Volks pages if you want to stay in touch. And I'm very happy to answer the questions now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Benedetto. We appreciate you sharing your insights about DeFi in general, the importance of interoperability done in the right way, and the way you are improving efficiencies and opportunities by creating those cross-chain functionalities. I'm Diana again, for those who don't know me, Head of Research and Sustainability at GBBC, and I'm going to take questions now, of which the first is, how does Folks Finance view the future of DeFi, particularly in terms of adoption among traditional financial institutions? What steps are you taking to bridge the gap and improve DeFi's interoperability with legacy systems?
So I think that improving the technology first is a must, because when we consider traditional finance, we have much more users that could come in, much more transaction that will be needed to be done. Definitely the technology has to get to a better stage to arrive there, but this is already happening. Then there are also the different narratives that I believe that DeFi has to take. And at Fox Finance, we were pioneering of opening our lending protocol towards not only crypto assets. In fact, in almost 1 year ago, we were listing for the first time on a permissionless lending protocol, tokenized gold and silver. I believe that this is something that can really change the narrative of crypto in general, because let's say on a standard fintech investing app, you may be able to invest in gold and silver, in commodities, and yes, you invest, they sit there and nothing happened, right? When you do this in DeFi, and you are able to, with few clicks, we are able to collateralize commodities and borrow against it, then you understand that the technology is so powerful. So I think that this is something that as builders, we need always to look forward if we really want to give utilities that goes over the crypto trading. Because I think that with tokenization increasing more and more, if as DeFi builders we get to be in the right, also maybe in a compliance level position to be able to accommodate those assets in our protocols, then there is a much bigger audience waiting for us there. And the audience is obviously also institutions, because the institution are also interested where the mass retail adoption wants to go. So yeah, I think that this is where we focus, and so it's technology improvement, but also targeting assets to be used in the DeFi protocol that are not only the crypto assets.
That makes so much sense, and there's so much to learn in the traditional community, and there's so much that can be gained from your insights and this coming together of DeFi and CeFi, right? Next question is, as Folks Finance tackles DeFi scalability, can you share how cross-chain apps and aggregated liquidity specifically enhance capital efficiency as compared to traditional multi-chain models?
Yeah, this is was the slides with the example that the cross-chain model it's much more efficient, but I think it's worth to add that with the uprising of cross-chain token, multi-chain DeFi protocol will not really make any sense, because you have the opportunity to transfer seamlessly tokens across network. I don't see a reason why you would want to keep those tokens locked in a pool in a single network. And obviously this disaggregates the liquidity rather than aggregating it. So I think that with more and more cross-chain token, this will be inevitable, and we will see more and more cross-chain apps upcoming, leveraging also the capabilities of those tokens.
Now moving on to talking about governance, which is really important. And actually at GBBC, we have a working group that is focusing on DeFi. If you give us a month, in the month of November, we are preparing to publish a number of reports, out of which one will be about DeFi. And we're putting together a DeFi taxonomy and basically what standards have to be considered in order to have an appropriate level of governance. Would love to hear from your perspective when we talk about cross-chain composability and governance being key features in your platform. What are the current challenges that you see to achieve seamless cross-chain governance? How do you address potential security risks associated with it as well?
Yeah, so I think that right now we are seeing more and more cross-chain governance happening in DeFi, even over multi-chain protocols that they don't have yet, but I believe that they will have cross-chain tools. They do indeed have a cross-chain governance because they deployed and there are governance token across multiple network, plus the protocols per se usually supports multiple networks. So there is a need of being able to manage all of those networks together under one single DAO. And this need can be only empowered if we consider interoperating the system of each single network. So for us, the governance is not deployed yet, but is in the pipeline. But we are monitoring and always looking on what is the latest updates in the market. And I believe that with the next cycle again of cross-chain app going on, we will be able to leverage the cross-chain tool in order to really allow anyone to participate in governance from any network supported. And regarding the security, this is in general a concern of messaging layers and cross-chain protocol, because every time that you add a layer of technology, you are adding a layer of risks. So everything has a risk. If we compare how many hacks there were in the past over bridges and how many there are today, you can directly see that this has incredibly decreased over time. So obviously, as every new tech, there are more risks at the beginning, but then it gets less and less because of the reliability increases over time and the security obviously as well. So I'm not that concerned about this right now. And also as at Folks, we always have best-in-class tech security. We always do multiple audits. Our contracts are also audited by public competition of hackers. So it's battle tested so far. We will do the same for the governance.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we are out of time. And I really want to thank you, Benedetto and Folks Finance for joining us today. It's been a thoughtful and engaging presentation and Q&A on really this incredible trend of what DeFi is already becoming. We look forward to learning more about Folks Finance's progress A recording of this presentation will be circulated to all those who registered and shared publicly on GBBC's YouTube channel. So thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.